It's that time of year again. We're all feeling a little burnout, but we're supposed to feel excited. We're supposed to have all this energy, and we kind of feel guilty that we don't. I've been there. I know you've been there. And I wanted to bring on an expert today, Dr. Jordin Wiggins, so we can dive into this to set you up for 2024 with success. So let's do this. Good morning, Dr. Jordan.
Hi, I love you. And I'm
I
so
love
happy to
you.
be here.
I'm so happy you decided to come on. I have previously talked, I had a whole series on it, and I told my personal story about burnout and everything I've been going through with my hormones and my health. And this is one of the people that I have been telling you all about who has helped me tremendously come to the other side, come to myself again. So I just wanted to sit down and let her work her magic with y'all. So welcome.
You're so sweet. Thank you. I'm excited. This is like the time of year to be having this conversation because I feel like it's burnout at its max.
Oh, exactly. And then you feel guilty because you're burnt out and you don't know what to do about it, but you push through.
And it's the holidays and we're supposed to be happy. And
Exactly.
then the lies, right? The lies that we tell ourselves is like, okay, well, if I just get through the holidays, then it's going to be different.
And then it's not.
And it's not.
Yeah. So I love your line and I identify with this. You work with super women and super men. And that, can you please describe that?
Yes. So this came about because I had a medical clinic for 9 years and I was noticing I was getting the same type of person, same archetype of person, very similar story. And that was a high achieving person that expects a lot of themselves, that wants a lot out of life. They have really big goals, big dreams, and they didn't really want to settle for
Yep.
the healthcare or the standard of healthcare that was being offered. That's like, oh, your blood work's fine. But they're saying, I'm not sleeping through the night. I have crushing anxiety. I wake up in a sweat. I need caffeine or sugar to get me through the day, wine at night to unwind. I've gained weight that I can't get off. My hair is falling out. The things that used to work for my health, like what used to work to get me back on track, is not working anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just, now over 2,000 people, just 2,000 super people,
Mm-hmm.
where it was the same sort of story. They were experiencing these health issues. They weren't really getting answers. And because this is sort of chronic health issues and they're issues that specifically seem to affect high achievers, doctors and like good doctors, good medical
Mm-hmm.
teams, concierge doctors, functional medicine doctors. My clients were spending money and they'd always come to me and say like, okay, well, I heard about you because of
Yep.
so and so. They got the direct referral and they'd say to me like, but I've already spent 30,000 or like 50,000 on people trying to figure this out. So
Mm-hmm.
is this going to work? Like
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure.
um oh, always, but I look at it as a
Oh, I
fun
agree.
challenge. It's my dopamine. I'm like, okay,
Same. Like
let's
we're
do
like the
this.
last stop too of like, well, I've been to all these people and I'm like, cool. At least you can tell me
Yeah.
what you've tried then.
Yeah, I've seen this celebrity doctor that. I'm like, okay, send me it over and I'll tell you why it didn't work.
Exactly. I love it. Um, so I really identified and like connected with you of gosh, one of the things I was struggling with is I had many doctors as a doctor, I was still getting gaslit by the medical community of your blood work's fine. It's just anxiety and depression. And oh man, I could punch someone. And I was like, no, no. Yes, those are the symptoms. I'm super anxious and I know I'm a high energy person, but I don't feel like myself. Like I really didn't feel like myself. And when I talked with you and we were going through that, you were like, I bet you don't feel like yourself. And I was like, tears. Oh my God, you get it. Like, what is that whole piece with the super women and like we'll get into my whole diagnosis and everything soon, but what is that part that you connect with like superwomen and supermen?
It's the pace at which they live their lives and what they expect of themselves. Like it's
Mm.
that is kind of the underlying thing. And I never want to change that
Right.
because people need to perform at a certain level to achieve what they need to achieve. So a lot of health plans are functional. So conventional doctors, they're just not going to be able to address this. Like
Mm-hmm.
the nervous system dysfunction, the cortisol dysregulation, the hormone imbalances,
Mm-hmm.
the things that I tend to see on repeat. Because it's like for men, I see, you know, possibly low testosterone, sometimes not, inflammation, their cholesterol or liver enzymes is off, and doctors are kind of like not really sure,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we'll give you a med, maybe not, like you're young, they can't really explain it. And for women, it's this like inflammation, hormone imbalances, adrenal dysfunction, but theirs is more estrogen, progesterone issues.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they're sort of coming medically speaking, but no one was addressing the mental health, the mindset piece that goes with
Mm-hmm.
it, and giving them a plan that could work so they could still achieve what they wanted to achieve.
Yep. Yeah. Because one of my biggest issues is okay, you want me to slow down and you want me to spend 2 hours a day meditating. That is just not me. Like, and I definitely still want to enjoy a couple glasses of wine. Like, there are things that I'm not willing to give up. And you were like, give me 75% like of the time. And, like 75, 80. And, you can still do the things that I want you to do, the things that bring you joy, actually. And it wasn't just kibosh, so strict, like, we're not going to get anywhere unless you do this 100%.
Yeah, and we know, right, that a lot of those interventions that you can do on the functional medicine and naturopathic medicine side of things, if you are super strict about them, you're going to see massive changes quickly.
Absolutely.
But one, it's not sustainable. So to me, that's not a long-term
Mm-hmm.
solution. And two, when somebody is performing at a certain level or achieving at a certain level, they can't sort of take themselves out of the game. And those are like maybe the wine or foods, like things are their coping mechanism. So it's how do I create a plan that can get them to the outcome, can get them to still do what they're doing? And when we're talking like high performers, there's lots of money on the line.
Mm-hmm.
There's games on the line. Like you can maybe you care for children or you're showing up in a way in your business that like you can't be off. You don't have the time for the downtime. So how do we create plans that encompass it all? Well, and first I want to locate them, like where in the burnout cycle are they? Like, are
Oh,
they
yes. Can you explain?
exhausted?
Yes.
Yeah.
Explain
Are
burnout
they,
cycles.
are they, so there's like the exhaustion phase. And I think that this is what a lot of people would identify with burnout, but it's this like mental, physical, emotional exhaustion. And for high achievers, it's interesting because it happens over years where they've been performing at such a high level. It's like it's the boiled frog, right? If you were to drop somebody into their current situation and it's like boiling water, they'd be like, oh my God, this is insufferable. I can't tolerate it. But that's not how it happens. It's like the temperature got turned up slowly. So you put a frog in boiling water, it's going to jump right out. You put a frog in room temperature water and turn it up slow, it's going to stay in there until it boils, until it dies. And that is what high achievers do. Like we tolerate, we tolerate, we tolerate until we're like physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted. And we like to call it depression. We like to call it, yeah, like we like to give it these labels. And really what I was seeing that it was is, yes, it looks like depression, but it wasn't a neurotransmitter issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was this whole other set of issues, like I mentioned, adrenal dysfunction, inflammation, nervous system dysregulation, and like not being able to slow down, like physically not being able to slow down. We talked about in our group, we talked about Kim Kardashian in
Yep.
this season, like perfect example of at the beginning of the season, she's like, I'm going to slow down.
Yeah.
And she ended up doing more. It's like not being able to stop, being exhausted, but not being able to stop. So exhaustion is the one phase. And high achievers are great tolerators. They're great at learning how to cope, like taking the vacations, doing the online shopping, the sugar, the caffeine, the wine, like whatever the numbing behaviors is, like their life is so dialed that they know like just the amount of vacations that they need to patch themselves up and get back in the game. But it's not sustainable because then, you know, we have what I call superwoman, super person crash. So you're in exhaustion for so long, like our body can only tolerate it. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to slow down, your body will do it for you. So whether that's an injury, a recurring illness, like something that's going to happen to you, and it will generally happen on repeat or it will flare if we
Mm-hmm.
haven't addressed the underlying issues. So we have that like phase where our body is warning us. We're either exhausted or we are ignoring the panic warning signs. We're high energy, we're on a treadmill, and it's like it keeps somebody's just upping it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't keep up, but we're learning all of the ways that we can adapt, all of the ways that we can cope, and we're good at it because we're high
Mm-hmm.
achievers. So we just keep more coping, more coping, more coping until we have that exhaustion and
Mm-hmm.
crash.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm doing is pinpointing like where is the person? Are they in that alarm phase? Are they like headed towards a crash, a health issue, an injury? Are they in the adaptation where they're managing, which is actually a really good place to intervene medically because
Mm-hmm.
things are kind of status quo, so we can put some pieces in place? Or are they like flatline, burnt out, exhausted, which is unfortunately where a lot of people actually come to me because they've had that
Yep. Yeah. Kind of like they
crash,
don't
that
come.
piece.
Yeah, they don't come get help with their pain until it's so bad they can't stand it, which if you would have started when you first felt it, it's way easier for you, way easier for us. But yeah, and I kind of found you when I was already crashing for the second time in my life. It's not like I learned this once. I have to,
Oh yeah,
we
we
have
don't
to
learn it one time. We learn it
no,
multiple.
absolutely not. And so some of the things, and from the medical world, it would look like I was healthy. I was eating semi clean, but I was working out all the time, working out on an empty stomach, having coffee on an empty stomach, fasting until after lunch
Mm.
because, oh, I could just have coffee and treat so many people and just be on this high and it felt so good. But then I'd get home from work and I'm like crawling up the stairs, dying, going to bed. And then I go to bed and I pass out for a little bit and I'm up for 3 hours in the middle of the night, freaking out my brain. Oh my God, what's going on? Did I do something wrong today? Do they hate me? Do they like me? Like just hamster wheel, hamster wheel, hamster wheel. So then I finally get back to sleep, wake up, don't feel rested. Terrible how I can't get out of bed. And it was just cycle on repeat, cycle on repeat. Keep going,
So you
push
need more
harder.
coffee.
Yeah. And then I was like, I don't even feel like myself. Like I couldn't enjoy things. I couldn't be in the moment. Like, I mean, I could fake it all day. And I truly thought I was, but I was like, I worked so hard for this and like this out to dinner with my husband, whatever. And I'm just like, all I want to do is go to bed, but I'm not going to be able to sleep. Like it was just so terrible. And I remember when I came to you and we got some labs and stuff, one of the first things you said to me was, I can't believe you're getting out of bed and working 12 and 14 hours a day. Like you don't have any testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. My cortisol was all off. And I'm like, Dr. Jordan, can you fix me? Like, is this gonna work? So if you want to speak more on that, you're welcome to share some of my story stuff. But it seems like this is pretty common.
It's so common. And I think I'm glad that you mentioned that about like waking up at night, panic, that kind of thing. So because it looks good on paper, because it looks good on Instagram from the outside looking in, high achievers, like people aren't looking all the places. They're not turning over all the stones because the preliminary stuff is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the mental emotional piece is huge. And I didn't realize that it's called anhedonia, and it's the inability to feel pleasure or joy. And so many high achievers are lacking that, where they've worked so hard to get where they've gotten, and they have so much to feel grateful for, so much to celebrate, so much to enjoy, and they are not present to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you even, there's even shame in saying it, or like
Oh,
walking into
terrible.
your doctor's office to
Yeah.
be like, I just won a Grammy and I'm like, meh.
Yeah. Oh,
I just
100%.
sold my company for, you know, 3x what I ever dreamed of doing. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
don't care. Or like, it's that we should be happier
Yep.
than we are.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's shameful, and because it's even hard to put words to, because and even if you go in and you say, like, I'm not feeling like myself,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm not sleeping, then, the medical system treats it like, oh, here's a sleeping pill, here's an
Yep.
antidepressant, your hormones are off, here's some birth control. Like those are the band-aid solutions, but the band-aid solutions don't work for high achievers because it's a multifaceted issue. And what they're like, they don't want a desire out of life to just feel fine, right?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
We want it all, and that's okay. So it just requires a more finessed approach from start to finish. So with my patients, I'm doing detailed testing. Like we
Mm-hmm.
have the technology. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's like, hey, wait, this is standard in other countries. Like, why is this not standard of
Mm-hmm.
care? In North America? It's interesting. But so I sort of thought to myself one day, like, what do people need in an ideal situation? People that are expect a lot of themselves, like they're in these high pressure positions, they give a lot, like they're very over giving, and whether it's of themselves, of their talent to their clients, like they're very giving, so it's depleting energetically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do they need testing wise?
Mm-hmm.
And that looks very different. And that's why people get told all the time, like, oh, you're good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
blood work's good. And you're like, yeah, but I don't feel like myself. I'm not as happy as I used to be. I feel like I'm going through the motions in life. I'm not connecting to my
Anyone.
loved ones. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
anyone. Like, and it almost becomes performative, right? Like
Yep.
even with clients, like you're going through the motions, you're putting on this persona to get through, and then you're crashing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the shame layer of, well, wait a minute, like I worked so hard for this and I'm not happy. Like I did the things.
Yeah.
I checked all the boxes.
It's really like a slap in the face. And
Mhm.
then you feel like something's wrong with you. And then it's like scary to admit because anyone else is like, you're nuts. Look at your life. Look at this. Look at that. And you're like, I know, but something else is going on that I can't figure out.
Right. So when we have burnout, and and I call it feminine burnout, but men and women can have feminine burnout, because really what it speaks to is like a lack of yin energy. Like in
Mm-hmm.
Chinese medicine, we need that balance. And a lot of high achievers are like we're doing, we're driven, we're on, we're showing up, we're thinking about the future, we're planning, we're achieving. That's all very yang masculine things, but the resting, celebrating, receiving, feeling good, feeling joy, feeling fulfillment, that's yin. So we have a massive imbalance there. And that like it's shameful for one.
Yeah.
And that is not addressed in treatment plan, which
Mm-hmm.
I realized was missing. And it was only because I had to go through the burnout cycle
Yep.
3 times myself.
Mm-hmm.
And every time, once, fix it the first time, and it's like, oh, okay, like I
Mm-hmm.
got this, because balancing my hormones and
Yep.
modifying my diet worked.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next time
It didn't.
I did the same stuff and it didn't work
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't addressing the underlying issues, which was some big internal work, some mindset work, some like, can I rest? Can I be at peace? Because with a lot of high achievers, and I'm calling myself out, who are you if it all goes away tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like, can you
It's
sit in the silence? Can you be with you?
mm-hmm.
And I couldn't. Like, I couldn't stop. And I was addicted to the hustle and addicted to the
Same.
dopamine of the achieving.
Same.
And it wasn't until I did a whole bunch of that internal work and combined it with we need to be healthy on the
Oh, for
cellular
sure.
level.
For
Our
sure.
hormones need to balance. We can't be inflamed. Like, it's a both and situation. And then, well, then I had a baby and it was a pandemic and
Yeah.
some other
And then
things.
we're
So
starting over. Yeah.
so that one, I call it a little bit circumstances outside of my control on the
Right.
pregnancy and hormone stuff. But, when you have the tools to fix it
Yeah.
again, you know what to test, you know how to implement, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. So I probably should have asked you this before our call, but if I'm listening right now and I'm struggling with this, I know I would be asking, okay, so can I work with her? Do you even have any spots open one-on-one that super women, super men will be able to work with you?
Yes, I do. I have private coaching spots available. I have online programs. So if you have feminine burnout, and depending on the level of support you need, the best thing to do would be to send me a DM on Instagram or visit my website, fill out an application, and I'll be able to best guide you how to work with me.
And you can reach out to her. What's your Instagram handle?
At Dr. Jordin Wiggins, Jordin.
And we'll have everything linked in the show notes too. But I
Perfect.
just wanted to make sure there was the opportunity if some people wanted to work with you or ask you questions about that, if
Yeah.
they were able
And
to.
please do. Please reach out, because
Yeah.
my
They could more
people
could
reach
open
out to
up.
me all over the
Yeah.
world. So
Yeah.
I will find a way, if this is you, like, we'll find a way for me to help you or to connect you with the lovely people, like even like Dr. Audra, that could
Yeah.
get you the help that you need.
Yes, absolutely. And then I wanted to dive into this other portion because I hear this all the time in practice. I love to talk about it with people. And I know everyone thinks it's just a hormone thing and low libido. And this is something that I know you've gotten into deeper with women and men, but especially women, and like a passion thing that you're comfortable talking about, how it kind of is an epidemic, and relate that to like the hormone stuff and the stuff we were just talking about with burnout, please.
So in a nutshell, I thought this was a big issue. This is something that men, women, like people were telling me, I just don't have desire, or there was a big mismatch in libido in their relationships. This is a big issue across the board that people were coming to me with. And it turns out that 1 in 2 women, like 50% of women, suffer from sexual dysfunction globally.
Yeah, that's
Like
high.
50%. Like, this is a big,
Uh-huh.
big problem. And then it affects you, it affects your relationship, it affects how you feel about yourself, how you're showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Patients were saying, like, we were fixing the things like balancing the hormones, weight was coming off, they were sleeping through the night, their hair stopped falling out. Like we were
Yes, winning.
checking off the list of issues that they
Yep.
had. Like their moods were better. They weren't as snippy. They started to
Mhm.
like feel joyful again.
Yeah.
And then they were saying to me, but I still don't want to have sex, or like the
Hmm.
desire piece that wasn't changing.
Hmm.
And I was using every tool I had under the
Hmm.
sun as a
Hmm.
naturopathic doctor, hormone prescriptions, doing everything I've been taught to do, all the labs, all the things. And I couldn't fix it. And I couldn't fix it. And I couldn't fix it. So being the, high achiever that I am, I started to dive deeper into like, what are those layers? What's causing the lack of desire, the low libido, which tied into the, and I don't want to, everyone wants to blame their hormones. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
and hormones is a piece of the puzzle, but it's not the whole puzzle. There is so much more
Mic drop.
to it.
Yep.
Our lack of sex education, for one. Some of us got nothing. If we did in school, it was like, and I went to a Catholic school, it was like abstain. And if you have sex, you're going to get a disease or get pregnant. Like it was just very poor sexual health education. And even what you get taught how to make a baby,
Hmm.
but you
Hmm.
don't get taught how do you have connected, intimate relationship, like long-term relationship. How do you deepen those things? Because it's great at the beginning and then it kind of fizzles for most
Hmm.
people.
Hmm.
And when we're burnt out, and I think that's why more people were coming to me about it and talking to me about it, because when we get burnt out, when our nervous systems, like we're in that fight, flight, freeze, we have nervous system dysregulation, cortisol dysregulation, the pleasure centers in our brain are turned off. So we don't desire sex as much. Touch doesn't feel as good. Like your, partner comes over to you, they want to touch your butt, and you're just like, get away from me. That's pleasure centers are off
Hmm.
in your brain. So it's so common. I think that many people, especially women, can identify with that. And I realized that sex isn't a drive, it's a reward system.
Mm.
So the more good sex you have, the more good sex you want.
Oh, interesting.
I know, which is also mind blowing, because then the people with low libido are like, well, wait, what? Because we're only taught about sex one way. Porn teaches us certain things,
Hmm.
our sex education teaches us, and it's very penetration focused.
Hmm.
But only 1/3 of women orgasm from penetration alone.
Oh, that's an interesting stat.
But that's, people think that's sex. Sex is P and V.
Hmm. Yep.
But we're missing so much. Like there's so much more on the menu, or could be on the menu, that doesn't even have to be about penis and vagina or
Hmm.
orgasm. What people want and what high achievers want, because again, it's different. Like sometimes people will come to me and they'll be like, I just want to have sex once a week. And
Yeah.
like, that's lovely. And I have pleasure principles for that, like an online
Uh-huh.
program. But high
Yeah.
achievers come to me and they're like, no, I want to feel passion. I want to have multiple orgasms. I want to have a, 30-second orgasm. Like they don't want just, your run of the mill average. We want the best. So that led me down a whole other path,
Hmm.
but that sort of walked hand in hand on the path of healing burnout. Because
Right.
when we're burnt out, the pleasure centers in our brain are off. And it was really mirroring what was going on in the bedrooms of these people.
And the pleasure centers, that goes circle us back, that goes back to, I can't enjoy this date, or I can't enjoy this vacation. I can't enjoy being in the moment. Like that all circles back into that piece of it too. Like it's connecting the whole thing, in which, I mean, we use in my office and we're more musculoskeletal focused, but you're using at a cellular level, happening chemically with the brain.
Yes, thank you for that's a very excellent summary.
Thank you. And I mean, on this note, it had me thinking too, like we've worked together on many patients so far, because I'm good at my lane, you're good at your lane, but it's important to have both. And when I'm talking to some of these women with the low libido and they're addressing it with you, it's like, well, if your pelvic floor functions correctly, like we got to figure out if this is even functioning correctly, you're going to be able to receive and have better sex, feel better. It's not only, people think pelvic floor dysfunction is only about peeing yourself. It's so much deeper than that. And I just want you to speak to that on specifically the libido part.
Yeah. And that was something that I experienced, was pelvic floor dysfunction. I had pelvic pain. And it was misdiagnosed for years. So it was
Very
something that I thought
misdiagnosed.
I just had to live with.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple times twice, it was so bad, I ended up in the ER, and they're like testing me if I was pregnant. They're doing
Yep.
imaging. And I had no clue at this point. I was doing my pre-med degree. Like I had no
Right.
idea of what a pelvic floor even was. I don't even think there was a clitoris in anatomy textbooks at that point. Like this was a while ago. And that, like, again, same thing. So doctors are saying, like, we're not quite sure. Must be in your head. They wanted to give me antidepressants. I'm like, no, like I have pain.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, found a pelvic floor physiotherapist, learned about my pelvic floor, learned about breathing, learned about all
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, so I can have an orgasm without pain now? Amazing.
Yay.
So there's two things. One is we need things to function, and you can tell me if you
Mm-hmm.
agree, but we need things to function. We want it to be pain-free. Sex should not be painful unless you
Mm.
want it to be.
Agree.
And then there's when we give women this knowledge about themselves, about their bodies, and even men. Like I'm starting to work with more men on this, because then it's like, okay, well, you taught my wife all this amazing stuff. Like, what do I need to know? Like, I want to blow her mind now. So there's the function, and then there's the fulfillment. So even women that don't have pain but struggle with desire, being able to connect with your pelvic floor, to understand, to know how to relax it, to know how to contract it, like all of that knowledge helps you have better sex.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just, I don't know. I feel like people come to us because, I mean, I'll talk about anything with you, like in the comfort level. And it shouldn't be shameful to like be able to tell your doctor or a doctor level person, even if you're not using them, for them to help find you the solutions. Like you have to be honest and open and like tell people what's going on. We can't read your mind. We don't want to assume. Like you have to be open, and like we're not going to tell anyone, you know?
Totally. And I think it was how this all started, truthfully. I think because I never set out to be like a
Talking about
pleasure
this. Yeah.
doctor and like helping high achievers with fulfillment in and out of the bedroom. This was never what I intended to do, but it was on my initial intake form. On my very first EMR, there was a question on there that was like, are you happy with the sex that you're having? Do you have pain with sex? Like there was just, I think there was 2 or 3 screening questions about sex and desire. And I was going to delete them. I got this from one of my supervisors when I
Yeah.
was an intern, and I was going to delete them. And I just had this intuitive feeling. I was like, no, I'm going to leave this on. Everyone, everyone, like it would, these people were unicorns that would actually rate like a 5 out of 5, like my sex, everything's good, I'm happy with it. That it was rare,
Mm-hmm.
rare,
Mm-hmm.
less than 10% that I would see that. Everyone else would rate it like 1, 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so they either wouldn't talk to me about it right away. We'd fix all the other concerns. And then they'd be like, oh, hey, by the way, like you said that on the intake form. Or people would come in and say like that because it was there, they felt like they could bring it up. So it just, because I think it's something that gets pushed to the side with healthcare because we're
Yeah.
dealing with the other things that like, are you having the most amazing sex doesn't rank at the beginning,
Hmm.
even though the impact is massive for people's relationship. And because it doesn't get dealt with, or because they've asked other doctors about it and not gotten the answers or been provided solutions that didn't help, then we do the shame and blame game and we blame ourselves. Like, well, something must be wrong with me. Guess I have to live with it. Guess I have to fake it. Guess like
Hmm. Yeah.
so they feel because they've been gaslit so many times is like, no, no, nothing's wrong with you. Like
Yeah.
what you've been taught about sex is wrong. You have not been properly assessed or given a proper treatment plan on the cellular level. Like that's what's wrong. And we need to work on some mindset stuff too, probably.
Yeah. It's a whole big thing. And that's kind of like my whole deal with kibosh the Kegels. I mean, people go to their OB and GYN and even like PT and are like, oh, I'm leaking, I'm experiencing this, I'm having pelvic floor pain, whatever. And they're like, oh, just do some Kegels. And that's like the opposite thing of what you should be doing. And so it's just like so frustrating, but people then give up because they've heard it a couple times and then gaslit. And it's like, no, no, like there's so much of a whole global component. And that's what I love. It's like you got to address the whole thing. And yeah, if you want to just focus on the hormones and on your health and maybe losing that weight, not losing your hair at first, cool. And that may change this low libido thing. I just feel like right now, times I'm just keep hearing it over and over like Dr. Audra, my libido, like I have nothing I used to have. And it's like, well, this is all connected definitely at a cellular level, but there's a nervous system level, there's a mindset level, there's an actual muscular functional level too. We need to have the players on the team addressing all of this.
All of it, or it won't work. It'll be marginal
Yeah.
improvement.
And speaking of, if you're listening, if you're in Restore Your Pelvic Floor on January 9th, or if you like sign up, if you can't make the live and you get the recording access to it for life, Dr. Jordan and I are actually going to announce something really exciting. We're teaming up.
Cannot wait.
And
And if you're not signed up, sign up.
yeah, the link will be in the show notes to sign up. But this Restore Your Pelvic Floor workshop, we're going to get into some actionable tools of how you can help yourself with your pelvic floor and even explain what it is. But you have to be there to hear, and I don't want to spill too many details.
And we know that 1 in 2 of you needs this. And truthfully, I think that's underreported. I think that if we were truthfully about like low libido and desire, it would probably be like 80% of you listening need to hear
Ooh,
this
okay.
information.
I like it. See, this is coming from your actual knowledge of what you've worked with women. So I like
Mm-hmm.
this. This is from your
Oh no,
case
it's
studies.
big. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
big.
Well, this is really exciting. And I just love, and I'll say it again, like you look at the full picture. It's not just, oh, let's put you on some hormone cream or let's just give you thyroid medication. No, 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 no. Like, why are your ovaries and all these symptoms connected to your thyroid, which is connected to your adrenals? And like, it's a whole picture. And just like, I remember just being so hopeless, and you gave me so much hope, and I'm feeling so much better. I still have a little ways to go, as we both know, but like I feel like myself again, and I can enjoy moments. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps talking. And it's like I'm me again. I'm Audra. I'm the fun. I'm like, yes, let's go do this. I have that excitement again, and I don't have to fake it. So I just want to say thank you. Oh, you're
I'm gonna
crying.
cry.
Oh my God.
I'm
No.
like, I
And
hope she
I'm
doesn't call me out for crying on her
I love it. No, that's so
podcast.
sweet.
No,
But
it makes me so happy when like if that's like when women tell me or people tell me I feel like myself again, that's like the best ever.
and not only has that done wonders for me, but it's transferred over into my relationship, my friendship, my patience, like my passion for my work. And like we got ignited and now we're doing something together. I mean, this has just been so fun. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm glad I got burned out a second time, which is weird, or none of this might have happened.
No, me too. And if I didn't have my like baby COVID that burnout, then I would have never worked with Tiffany and
Yes.
we
Would have
probably
never
would
met.
not have connected. So both of our second burnout episodes, or my third burnout, your second burnout
Yeah.
episode, and there we go. And us together it's going to be,
Magical.
it's going to be, yeah.
Everything's going to be linked in the show notes. Ask her any questions, but we can't wait to see you and restore your pelvic floor. See you later, butthole breathers.